Ever since I started making tutorials for LittleBigPlanet Karting, I have been itching to get away from the default modes and put together something a little bit more creative. And today we're going to do that. We're going to create an eliminator. Every 15 seconds the person at the back of the track is eliminated, which means we're going to be taking our first look at advanced logic. So here we go. This mode is directly inspired by the MotorStorm games, and what happens is a race starts as usual, and then after about 30 seconds, a minute or so, players start to get eliminated, and every 15 seconds the person at the back, whoever is in last place, is eliminated from the race. And this is what we're going to be making today, this bit of logic here, and I'm going to be taking you through step by step, showing you exactly how it works and what the different functions do. Now we're going to remove all of the spawn points except one, and then we're going to set up that spawn point perfectly, and then we're going to copy that spawn point to make the other 8 players. So this saves us doing the same work 8 times. And on this on the spawn point we're going to be putting a microchip. Now I'm not going to be covering very basic logic in this tutorial, because there are loads and loads of tutorials about that already, and I'm sure you can find some if you go and have a look, or just ask me and I'll link you some. So I'm going to be going more towards the medium advanced logic, and especially looking at some of the stuff that is new on LittleBigPlanet Karting. So we're going to take our microchip and we're going to make it nice and big, because we've got a lot of stuff to go on there, and then we're going to get a toggle. Now a toggle is a simple on-off piece of logic, and basically everything that comes after it is not on in its default state, and when the toggle is turned on, it is then on. And this is going to be our bit of logic that actually will deactivate the carts when they are eliminated from the race. So we're going to put a bit of logic here, which is the race brain, and we're going to set it to idle, which means that the computer will shut down when this toggle is activated. I'm also going to put a cartonator, which directly affects the player's input, and there's a nice little option in the cartonator that says if nothing is wired up, control available if not connected, and I'm going to put an X there, which means that when this is turned on, all of the controls are going to turn off for the human player. I'm also going to put a character expression, so when our player is eliminated, their sackbot will look suitably devastated and look around in anguish. And then lastly we're going to put a camera there as well, so when a player is eliminated, the camera will swivel round and look directly back at the player for the rest of the race. And many of these tools I have shown before in previous tutorials. This is tutorial 6, so if I use anything that you don't understand, please go back and watch the previous tutorials, because I have tried to film these tutorials in such an order that everything is covered in detail at least once, so go back and check them out. We can leave the camera on its default settings for our purposes here, and then what we need to do is then connect the toggle up to all 4 pieces of logic here. So when the toggle is turned on, all 4 of these events take place. So whether it's a human cart or whether it's a AI cart, it will shut down, it will have a bad expression on its face, and if it was a human, the camera will swivel around. Now just to show you that this works, I'm just going to grab a timer, stick it in front of the toggle, and then just after 10 seconds, like that, my car is going to shut down, and the AI's does in the background as well. So that toggle and bit of logic is working quite happily. But we've got a long way to go yet. Now I'm going to stick in here a NOT gate. Now the NOT gate is going to reverse whatever is put into it. So as we come out of that toggle, the toggle will say no at the beginning of the race and yes later. But while the toggle is saying no, I want it to be giving our player some scores. So basically, while our player is alive, he's going to be scoring 100 points every second. And once the player is killed, or eliminated, he stops scoring points. So that little NOT gate and then score giver that we've put there are going to do that little job for us very easily. Now we need 2 timers here at the beginning. The first timer is going to be the period of time before the eliminations begin, and then the second timer is going to be the amount of time between each elimination. And when you get this piece of kit, you can customize these however you want, depending on what you want for your race. Now we're going to connect the first timer to the second timer, so after however many seconds the eliminations will begin. But then with the second timer we're going to connect it back up to itself, because there's a reset function at the bottom of the timer. And what this will mean, if I just run a demo of it, is that the first timer will only run once, which it's doing now, but then the second timer will actually keep running itself. So it'll fill up once, but then because the output is connected back to its reset, it will then instantly go back to 0 and then start again. So we're going to get a repeating signal happening every 15 seconds or so, which will be our eliminations. Now this is new in LittleBigPlanet Karting, the race position sensor. Now this gives out, as a signal, gives out a percentage number based on the player's current position in the race. And this works in conjunction with another lovely little tool here, which is called the threshold. Now what we're going to need is 8 of these, because we're going to need it to check 8 times to find out what position the player is in. So for example, if when it goes off for the first elimination, if the player is in 8th place, kill them. If when it goes off for the second time, if they're then kill them, then the 6th place and 5th place, and so on and so forth. Now what we need to do is a little bit of maths to work out exactly what numbers we need in the threshold. Now the first one is easy and the last one is easy, because the first one is 0. The player in last place will be 0, 0, and the player in first place will be 100, 100. The other numbers are going to be a little bit more tricky, and what I've done is I've put onto the LittleBigPlanet forums a thread called like threshold numbers, and I'll link that in the description as well. And depending on how many players you've actually got in your race or your battle, these numbers will be different. So for example, 7th place is going to be between 14% and 15%. 6th place will be something different again. So go and find that thread, which I've linked in the bottom, if you want to understand these numbers and get the full list. So now we need a selector to activate the different stages of our race. So as our timer goes round and round, it activates the eliminate person in 8th place stage, and then eliminate the person in 7th place stage, and so on. So we've put this selector down and we've made it bigger. So it's got 8 stages, and then we're going to collect the timer up to the bottom of the selector, and every time the timer goes round, it'll move us down to the next stage of the race. We're also going to need a series of AND gates over here, because what we need to say for each player is if, for example, it is now the stage of the race to eliminate the person in 8th place, and you are in 8th place, then eliminate that player. And then when it moves to the next stage of the race, it'll be the same thing. If it is now at the stage of the race to remove the 7th player, and you are in 7th place, then eliminate you, and so on. So we're going to connect these exits of the selector up to these AND gates here, and we're actually going to connect the last gate up to both the last 2 gates, because obviously you don't want the player in first place to run around for 15 seconds by himself. We want the player in second place to be eliminated and the person in first place to be eliminated at the same time. I'm also going to put a little extra setting coming out of the very last selector output to shut down both of the original timer, so the timers don't keep going round during the checkpoint screen at the end. And then what we're going to need to do here is put in an OR gate in front of our toggle, because what this gate is effectively doing is if the player is eliminated in 8th place, or if the player is eliminated in 7th place, or if they're eliminated in 6th place, etc., etc. If any one of the conditions is met, then activate what we made earlier, which was the eliminate the player set of it. So overall we've got this nice pattern now of the timer is going to go round, it's going to activate or check to see if the player is in that particular place at that particular stage, and if it is, it's going to activate our finishing logic. Now the last player, the player who is in first place, we're not going to eliminate, so we're not going to send that to the OR gate. Instead, we're going to give him some extra points, 1,000 to be exact, and we're also going to activate the game ender tweaker, which will end the game for everyone and with the players in the correct position. And that's actually the basic logic for the Eliminator in place. So we just copy out that that spawn point with the microchip on it, and it's ready. And if I've sped up the timers here, but what we'll see if you start looking at the map on the left, you'll see that some of the white dots will slowly fall behind as they are eliminated. So it's working. But now we need to make the whole thing kind of look a little prettier. We need to adjust some of the settings in our game. So we need to put on infinite amount of laps. We need to make our scoring based on score rather than hits or time or anything like that. And we're going to make a load of adjustments now to the HUD, or the heads-up display, which is in the tools menu. Now, because we aren't basing our race on laps, we aren't going to need the lap counter. So we're just going to select that one and use triangle to delete it. But what we do need is a nice timer to tell the players when the eliminations are going to take place, and that's actually in the custom sections of the HUD, and you can place it wherever you want, and then we're going to tweak it and give it a name. See, we're at the top, you actually click on it where it says timer, and you can give it a custom name, which is going to be especially useful if you have lots of different timers or lots of different objects. And then the settings here, the rest of the settings don't particularly matter for our purposes today. And I'm also going to put a second custom HUD widget, which is known as a flasher, which doesn't quite do what you'd expect, because it actually just puts up a bit of text on the screen. And I'm going to call this elim text, and change the smiley face to a sad face, and then change the colour to red to be extra dramatic, because this is going to be our bit of text that says elimination. Then if we go back to our microchip, we need the HUD tweaker, which is one of the blue ones, and we want this to activate every time we come to elimination. You need a separate HUD tweaker for each element of the HUD, and then you need to go through on that HUD tweaker and find first of all the type, and once you found the type you can then select the individual one, and of course we only have one, which was CD timer, which was countdown timer, and then you've got a target time, and you need this time to be the same as your timer if you want it to display correctly. Now, if we were just to set it up straight one into the other, because the timer is counting up, the timer on the HUD would also count up as well. So what we need to do is put a NOT gate in front of it, which means that although the timer on the logic is counting up, what we're actually going to see on the HUD is actually going to count down. And then with the elimination text, all we need to do then is again find the type, then choose the specific bit of text, and then we can actually choose what text we want it to display, in which case we're going to write the word elimination. But this actually means that you can use one piece of HUD for lots of different pieces of text, and there's a nice option in there that actually allows you to say how long do you want the text to be displayed, so we don't need to put another bit of logic in on our microchip that says how long we want the display. Therefore we can just set that up in the HUD itself. And we're also going to add a sound. We've got a nice warning signal here, and I've shown you sounds in a previous tutorial, lesson 5 I think, so go and check them out if you're not sure. And again, the output from the timer, I can just hook it up, and then once that's hooked up I can set that to input action trigger, which means that every time it gets an input from that timer it's going to trigger that sound again and again. And I'm going to change a few of these options down here, such as focus and accentuation, because that makes this sound more focused on than the other sound, so it makes the sound come through louder rather than just like being a background noise. And I'm also going to put a countdown timer in, like a kind of a clock, just for the last 5 seconds or so of each elimination. And but if I want it to actually only be for a certain period of time, I need another threshold tweaker. And I can tell it that I just want it to be for the smallest 30% of the time remaining. So when it gets down to about 5 seconds or so, that is going to activate. And if we quickly test this, if you look up above, you can see now the countdown time's up. We get a little bit of clock sound, and the elimination text appears as well. So that is just about ready to go. So we're going to get our object capture tool. I'm going to capture that, and then I'm going to come to one of my existing tracks, which was Billy's bedroom, and we're going to turn this into now an elimination track. And it's actually pretty quick to do. I've just done a few little tweaks to make the level look slightly different and a little bit more dangerous. Going to change the music and things like that. But I also need to add in the things like the HUD tweaks, because although it's going to be easy for me to just stick in the my spawn points, which will deal with all the logic, there's a few things we can't copy in, like the brand new HUDs and things like that. that. But although that this is running at ×4 speed, this is all the tweaks you need to do to actually get it working. And then I'm going to go to my custom objects, and I'm going to just paste in these spawn points. One thing that you need to be aware of, though, if you had any logic on your spawn points already in a level and you're then wanting to make an elimination version of it, you'll need to put that logic onto these new microchips as well. So for example, in this level, everyone spawned with a grapple tool straight away. So I just had to then put onto this microchip the grapple tool to make sure that everyone in this level could still use this level properly. So as you can see, I'm almost finished now with the various HUD tweaks, making sure it's all working properly for this level. Once I'm sure that is done, just select that, hit clone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and the elimination race is ready to go. Now, this track is not copyable, but the logic that I made today is available if you take the challenge and win my Eliminator. And of course you can make your own because you've seen the video now and you know what to do. But if you would like to speed up the process a little bit, come and defeat my Eliminator race, and you're welcome to take away the spawn point for your own tracks. And I'd love to see your tracks as well. So if you do make an Eliminator version of any of your tracks, or even a brand new track with Eliminator, send me a line, and maybe I'll include it in the next karting corner. Thanks a lot for watching. Please subscribe to see more tutorials, and give the video a like as well to let me know that you want this series to continue. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.